Yeah, I
Okay, sir, we will
started
start.
recording. Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, friends. Today, today there is an exam at 9 o'clock from CBOA. So that is the reason we have taken a slot from 7 to 8. I may stretch for another 15-20 minutes and I will finish my class so that you can give exam with regard to CBOA. So good evening, everyone. Today I am taking Forex class and purely examination point of view, I have prepared this PPT and I will explain you wherever possible to make you understand better with regard to Forex. First, disposal of Forex loan applications. If anybody comes to you for any export advance, in how many days we have to clear those particular applications? If it is a fresh or enhancement, we have to clear within 45 days. If it is a renewal, 30 days. And ad hoc, it is 15 days. Please remember, after 45 days, everything is minus 15 days. This is with regard to export. There will be some customers who are having a good track record with our bank for 3 years or more. We will make them as gold card exporters. For them, we should dispose very fast. So for them, they have told fresh or enhancement, it is only 25 days we have to do. For renewal, it is 15 days, and ad hoc it is 7 days. This is the way we have to dispose the applications when we receive for export advance. Okay, this is then. And one more thing here I want to tell you, in Forex or in exports, if any application comes to you, if you want to reject, the rejection of proposal credit policy says only MD, we can reject, but we have to take concurrence or we should place the note before MD CEO. This is the important point you have to remember. Rejection of export loan applications. Simply branch cannot reject. It should have a concurrence of MD. Foreign Exchange Management Act. See, earlier this entire Forex was controlled by FERA. FERA is nothing but Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. It's a regulation. Now it is replaced by FEMA in 1999, December 2nd. But this act was came into force, this FEMA, on June 1st, 2000. This is important. FERA replaced by FEMA. And another thing is date when it came into force, June 1st, 2000. Okay. Next, there are two type of transactions happens in Forex. One is capital account transaction, another is current account transaction. Let us see what is capital account transaction. Capital account transaction means the transaction which alters assets and liabilities outside India. That means in America. Example I told, outside India for a person residing in India. That means if I am having an assets and liabilities in America, if it alters sale purchase, if I do, that alters or assets and liabilities in India of person resident outside India. And Americans assets and liabilities in India, if it alters, these transactions will be called as capital account transaction. Only for the definition purpose, you must know, if they ask if assets or liabilities for an Indian changed it abroad, or for an abroad person changed in India, what will be called capital account transaction. That only you should remember. Okay. Coming to current account transactions, these are other than capital transactions will be current account transaction, which includes foreign trade, any business transactions, you are paying any remittance or services, all other items will come under current account transactions only, except this capital account transaction. This is the difference between capital account transaction and current account transaction. Then, who is a resident? Before knowing who is a NRI, we should know who is a resident. Resident is defined in subsection 2 of FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Try to remember this section. Who is a resident? A person residing in India for more than 180 days during the course of preceding financial year, that means last financial year, will be taken as a resident in India. Only thing you have to remember is 182 days. They may ask any question, they may ask section or they may ask days. Okay. Coming to NRI, who is a NRI? A person resident outside India who is a citizen of India. First important point, he must be a citizen of India, but he might have residing outside India. First point. And an Indian citizen who has gone out of India, who stays outside India for the purpose. For what purpose he has gone outside India? He should do employment, he should do business, he can go for a vacation or any circumstances which indicate intention to stay outside India for an uncertain period is called as NRI, non-resident Indian. Okay. Next, even student going abroad also will be treated as NRI, because we don't know how many it's stay in abroad, maybe uncertain period. Okay, for 2 years, 3 years, he may go and study there. Next, who is a person of Indian origin? This is very important definition to remember. They never asked NRI, but always they used to ask who is a person of Indian origin. Please remember, a person resident outside India who is a citizen of any country. Let me be citizen of any country, but please remember, other than Bangladesh and Pakistan. Bangladesh, Pakistan as just our India's very near to India. These two countries are there. One is Bangladesh, another Pakistan. Both are almost Muslim countries. So a person resident outside India, he is a resident of outside India, but he should not be a country person of Bangladesh and Pakistan. First important exception. Other than these two countries, any person who is residing outside India, but he should have at any point of time held an Indian passport, number one. Number two, he himself or his parents or his grandparents was a citizen of India by virtue of Constitution of Indian Citizenship Act. He may be a citizen, or his parents, or maybe his grandparents, whoever it may be, if they might have been citizens of our country by virtue of Constitution of India, there he is also called as PIO, person of Indian origin. And third option is a person is a spouse of NRI IPO. If NRI's spouse or PIO's spouse are also called as person of Indian origin. Okay, this is very important thing you have to remember with regard to person of Indian origin. Coming to accounts, if any NRI, if anybody goes to foreign abroad, we call him NRI for any purposes we have discussed already. Then whenever they get money there, see, for employment, I have got 1 lakh rupees. Generally, I will send to India to my father, mother, all these people, correct? Now, so when they send to India, what type of accounts available for them? One is NRO account, another is NRE account, another is FCNRB accounts. I will try to make you comfortable with these three accounts. I will try to explain what are these accounts. Number one, if anybody asks you, these three accounts you have to remember, this is very important. And out of this, if anybody asks you NRO, NRE, NRE, FCNR, whether any account is maintained in foreign currency. See, here one advantage we are having. Foreign currency account means you can see any account, FC word is there, this foreign currency, that account will be maintained in foreign currency. NRO, is there any FC? No, it is not a Indian rupees only, it will maintain. NRE, is there any rupee there? It also maintains in rupees only. FCNR, you see, the full form of FCNR is foreign currency non-repatriable. What happened is, it's a foreign currency. That means FCNR will be maintained in foreign currency. One answer without knowing anything. If you know this logic of FC, you will come to know this is account is maintained in foreign currency. Okay. Then who can open? I already told you, who has gone abroad, NRI or person of Indian origin, both of them can open any of these accounts. Okay. Next, currency of the account. Just now I told you NRO means there is no FC, so Indian rupees. NRE, there is no FC, it is also maintained in Indian rupees. FCNR, yes, foreign currency. So any convertible foreign currency, these accounts can be opened. Over. Type of accounts. What type of accounts we can open under NRO, NRE? In NRO, NRE, any account we open, simple logic is we are opening Indian rupees. So generally don't restrict. So SB account they can open, current account they can open, RD, term deposit. NRO, NRE, when it is maintained in Indian rupees, please remember this logic. In exam, you should not confuse. If they ask what type of account open in NRE, Indian rupees means all accounts are permitted. Coming to FCNR, FCNR is a term deposit account we open. If you listen in your branch, even if it doesn't work, everybody says FCNR is a deposit. Only term deposit only we can open under FCNRB. Okay. Coming to source of funds, how the funds will come to these accounts, NRO, NRE accounts, how the funds will come. Number one, first I will talk about NRE and FCNRB. See, NRE account, NRE account, always it comes with foreign currency only. That means that NRI has to send the amount directly to NRE account. That means funds will come from abroad to directly to this NRE account. Even FCNR account also same position. It will directly, funds will come from abroad and account will be opened. So these two accounts, when one simple logic, if you remember, when funds are directly coming to NRE account on FCNRB accounts, that means directly foreign currency came to the account. Only one logic you should understand. When comes directly, it can go back also. That is called repatriation. So NRE account and FCNRB funds from America, I sent $1 lakh. So definitely RBI will permit to take back that 1 lakh at any point of time. That means fully repatriation is permitted in these accounts. Why they have permitted? Because entire foreign currency only I have given in those accounts. So if required, I will take back. So that is the reason repatriation permitted. One more point I have added, NRO account, but NRO is not like that account. Okay, NRO account, the purpose of NRO account, generally why NRIs will open is, the reason behind opening NRO account is, see, one NRI is there, and these NRI may be having some account, some properties, some investments in India, right? Some, maybe he's having some 2-3 houses, maybe he invested in shares, maybe he invested in mutual funds. It will definitely regularly they will generate some income to him in Indian rupees. Rent he will receive. If investment means some income, some commission, these things he will receive. Those funds he cannot keep in NRE and FCNRB, because here funds will come directly from abroad only. Then local currency, local income, where he will keep? For that purpose, this non-resident ordinary account is maintained. So NRO account in India, if any transaction you want to put the amount, that amount he will keep in NRO account. This is the purpose of NRO account for a NRI. Joint accounts with close relatives, yes, NRO permitted, but NRE, FCNRB, it is permitted, but the operation condition should be former or survivor. Former means NRI. Till NRI is live, he only will operate the account. Okay, I will share tax benefits. What about tax benefits? In for is a NRI, definitely NRE and FCNRB, to encourage these particular NRIs, always income tax says we will exempt, because they are giving the forex funds to the country. They are pushing amount from America to here, so they are exempted. So NRE, FCNRB is exempted, but NRO he is collecting amount from local India only, his income. So that income is created in his NRO account. So TDS applicable for NRO account, and it is 30%. Next, repatriation. I already told you in the first column, when funds are coming there, they can take back also. Taking back funds from India to America is called freely repatriable. So NRE and FCNRB, fully it is repatriable. And come to NRO, generally repatriation, generally they don't permit, but USD is very important. US dollars 1 million for financial year is permitted. But one thing you remember, after payment of eligible taxes, which income was created to NRO account? His local funds. When local funds he has received, if he paid the income tax and everything, then the amount is a legitimate income for him. That amount, yes, he can take back to America or whatever country he is. But only thing is, up to USD 1 million. Always they ask in NRO account, if repatriation is required, if income tax, everything is paid, up to how much amount he can take repatriation. It is US dollar 1 million. Coming to TOD purpose, NRO account we can permit without any no limit, because it's a rupee account and maintain is local funds only came, so no limit. But NRE account, only 50,000 only TOD can be permitted, and maximum 2 weeks. Okay, this is 3 accounts you should remember, very important for examination purpose. One more thing I forgot to tell you, what is the minimum and maximum period? I always tell, domestic term deposit rate of interest, if you open, always domestic rate of interest circular will come with NRO. Domestic NRO, only one circular will come. If you see the heading, they say the rate of interest changes from so and so date for domestic and NRO. That means whatever domestic rate of interest you are getting, same rate of interest NRO also will get. So that is the reason one circular will come. So minimum maximum period, if they ask, For normal deposit, what is the period? Same. What is the period for normal deposit? 7 days is the minimum period, maximum 10 years. Okay. Coming to NRE, please remember NRE minimum deposit is 1 year, maximum deposit is 10 year. Okay. And very peculiar is FCNRB. When anybody NRI wants to open FCNR account, his minimum period is 1 year and maximum period is 5 years. The important point you have to note is maximum period. Generally, even domestic deposit, NRO, NRE, everything is 10 years. Only FCNRB we can open maximum 5 years. Many number of times this question has come. FCNRB, what is the maximum period? Maybe he thought we will keep 10 years as an answer. Please remember this. And generally, if you are opening a FDR under FCNRB, it is 1 year. But if you want to open a KD, it is 1 year, 1 day. This is with regard to NRO, NRE, and FCNRB deposits. Okay, coming to next point. If any foreign national, okay, he's a non-Indian origin, but he came for a tourist. See, some Americans, some English people will come to India for as a tourist. When they visit to India, what type of account we will open? Remember, we have to open NRO account for them, these tourists. Okay, but the remittance, how it should come? When he is coming from England, he might have remitted from England. After reaching here, he will tell somebody there, or maybe through mobile, he will transfer funds directly from his England account to Indian account. The way he has to say, otherwise he has to inform his banker that please remit these funds to India. This is the NRO account I have opened with Canara Bank. So NRO account should be opened for a tourist by inward remittance only, or if you already brought foreign exchange to our country, that foreign exchange you can convert and you can keep in that account. This is the two ways only it should be opened. Okay. He has brought some $5 lakh. $5 lakh he has credited in your NRO account. He is utilizing, he is going Taj Mahal, he is seeing Charminar, everything. He has, as a tourist, he has seen everything. After that, he wants to go back and he is having a funds of $2 lakh. $5 lakh, $3 lakh he is expended. $2 lakh are left in his account. Whether he can repatriate, definitely he can be repatriated. The only condition is account should be maintained not exceeding 6 months. That means if any tourist comes to India, we open an NRO account with a maximum of 6 months. Within 6 months, whatever money he expends, remaining amount he can take back to his country. So the examination point of view, if foreign national comes to India, what type of account he can open? NRO account. So inward remittance they won't ask. For your knowledge purpose, I told you. If he wants to repatriate the funds from NRO account, how much period that account should run with a maximum 6 months? Okay, this is one important. Next, overseas corporate body. Who is overseas corporate body? A company, a partnership, a society, or any other corporated body located overseas. That means it is in abroad, America, somewhere, that one company is there. But in that company, if it is owned by individuals of Indians, there are Indians are there in America. If they are having directly or indirectly at least 60% share in that company or in that partnership firm, it is called as overseas corporate body. That means overseas corporate body, any company. Only thing is our Indians should have more than 60% share in that. Then we call it as overseas corporate body. The only thing in examination point you have to remember is 60%. How much share they will have, that they will ask. Okay. Now coming to three more accounts. Now three accounts you have learned: NRO, NRE, and FCNRB. Now remaining three accounts also we will learn: RFC, RFCD, EFC account. RFC means resident foreign currency. You see, it is written as foreign currency. So this account also opened in foreign currency. RFCD, again foreign currency. This account also will be opened in foreign currency. EFC, exchange earner foreign currency account. This is also foreign currency. So no confusion. All these three accounts are open not in Indian rupees. It will be opened in foreign currency. By name, I can say the account, how it will be opened. Okay. Okay. Next. Who can open this account? Who will open RFC? When there are NRO is there for Indian rupees. NRE is there for NRI. And for term deposits, EFC account, FCNRB is there. Then what is the requirement of RFC account, RFCD and EFC? We will see. What is the logic behind these accounts to open? Number one, RFC account. Any person who has gone to abroad, he is coming back to returning India. Now his work is over or his employment is over, his business is over. If he is coming back to India, returning to India, those who are NRIs or POs for a minimum period of 1 year, then they will have to open RFC account. Please remember, they may ask a question in a such a way. One customer has come to you in the counter. He told he's permanently came back from USA. What type of account you will recommend for him? RFC account. I told you returning India. That word is, that's why I made it bold. Return to India, RFC account you have to. Source of funds. Definitely it should be foreign inward remittance. If he is already having accounts of NRE or FCNRB, that amounts also he can transfer to this RFC account. That's all. And what type of account you can open for RFC? SB, current term deposit, no problem. Now coming to RFC domestic. RFC domestic, it will be opened for resident individuals. We can open in India, we can open, Ravi Kumar can open RFC term deposits. How, sir? Where you are having foreign exchange? See, I went to some country. I acquired some foreign exchange while on a visit to any place outside India. I went for a visit to somewhere. My friend has given me some money, so I came back to India. That currency I want to keep in a deposit. Then I will open RFC domestic deposit. RFC, RFCD, only one difference. RFC means returning permanently. RFC domestic, that will be NRI. NRI coming permanently. RFCD, resident Indian, will open. For what purpose he will open? He has gone abroad. He got some money. He brought the money. He want to keep in Forex. Then he will open RFC domestic deposit. The last account is exchange earner foreign currency. The name itself says who is this, whose account it is. Exchange earner. Exchange means foreign exchange. Earner means earning. Who is earning for India? Exchange earning. Who is doing in India? Only exporter. Exporter is exporting to some country. Automatically that Forex will come for his export. Automatically he receives some amount. So he is the exchange earner. So exporter exports and he will get Forex. That is the reason we call EEFC account is for generally for exporters. So a person resident in India, which includes, because he's a businessman, he's doing exports. He may be individual, he may be a firm, he may be a company, whoever it may be. He is the exchange earner for us. Now, source of funds from status holders, individual, professional, all can retain up to 100%. See, EFC account, I will tell you one example. I have exported 1 lakh goods to $1 lakh goods to America. See, I sold it. Actual my cost is 70,000, $30,000 are my profit. I sent export and that export realizables have come and my bank has received $1 lakh. What bank will do? Because I might have taken 70,000 loan for the phone from the bank. They will clear 70,000 advance. Remaining 30,000 is my profit. That 30,000 they will keep in my EEFC account because it is my earning, my profit. So they will put in EEFC account. Okay. Then remember this very important question. When India, Reserve Bank of India feels that if there is a shortage in foreign currency, what they will say, they need Forex. They need Forex. So Forex earners are these exporters. So what they will say, when you are receiving any amount in EFC account as a profit or whatever it may be, if you want to utilize that money for any import and all, you can use, no problem. We are not coming in your way. But please remember, as an exporter, if you are not using that profit within next month last date, that means now it is a December. Now today I got $30,000. For me, deadline is January 31st. That's why they told last day of succeeding calendar month. December means January last. Before that, I should use that money received in my account. December, whatever money received, January 31st is deadline to utilize that money. If I am not utilizing, automatically this amount will be converted to Indian rupees and your account will be credited and Forex will go to Reserve Bank of India. So this you have to remember, EFC account in earner cannot keep till next month last only he can keep. After that he cannot keep. It will be converted to Indian rupees. But please remember, this is an important question. RFCD, they will not allow you because you brought the money from America, some $10,000. You can open RFCD, matlab they will not give any interest. So current account only. Even EFC also, they says current account only will be opened. No other account you can open for EFC. Now coming to type of accounts. What is Vostro? What is Nostro? What is Loro? In examination point of view, this question is very, very important for you. They may ask for any scale. It is not for that. Vostro, Nostro are very, very important, these two lines. Vostro account, Nostro account. Before telling about this, I will explain you what is Vostro and Nostro. In India, Canara Bank is dealing. Canara Bank wants an account at America in dollars. I want to open. Canara Bank wants to open account in USA in dollars. Where they will go? They will go to some bank in America only. So they have gone to Bank of America. Okay. Canara Bank will go to Bank of America and they will say to Bank of America, see, I want to open an account with you and it should be maintained in dollars. Dollars only. America means dollars only. Okay, they will open an account to Canara Bank in dollars. So that account will be opened for them, Canara Bank. Okay, like Bank of America also want to open an account in India because they also want an account in Indian rupees. So they also come to Canara Bank and say, sir, we also want to open account in Indian rupees. Okay, sir, we will open. They will open account with us. Now you understand the definition of Vostro and Nostro. First, I will tell Vostro. Okay, Vostro means uska account. Just remember that. Vostro means uska account in Hindi. Uska account मतलब किसका है? बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका का अकाउंट, उसका मतलब बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका अकाउंट मेंटेन्ड विथ कैनरा बैंक in Indian rupees is called as Ostro account. In simple terminology in English, they call it as your account, your American account with us. If this word, if you could not able to remember this logic. Uska account, that means your account with us. Over. Now Nostro automatically reverse because you know the concept. Our account with you, Canara Bank account with Bank of America. That's all. So that they won't give this much discretion to you. Canara Bank opened it bank, then you will answer, but they will not give simple terminology. Your account with us, our account with you. These things they will give. You will get confused if you doesn't understand the terminologies. So like this, if you remember Ostro and Nostro, you can answer. Next one is Loro account. Loro account means their account with you. Account of a third bank abroad. Okay, this is called Loro account. Coming to mirror account. What is a mirror account? See, Canara Bank opened an account with Bank of America in dollars. Where the account is running, sir? Account is running at America in dollars. In India, I will maintain a dummy account. Whenever I do any transaction there, I will write in my books also. One passbook I will maintain and I will write, this is the account, this is the amount, like that I will write and I will keep. So that a replica entry will be available. I will come to know any point of time what is the balance in my Nostro account. That is this account what I am writing now. Dummy account. This is called as mirror account. Now you see the definition. Dummy account maintained by banks to know the actual position of Nostro account, American account, accounts for reconciliation purpose with the foreign correspondent banks. That Bank of America, whatever we are having, that Nostro account we want to. We may call it as a passbook of our accounts maintained with the correspondents. So I hope I am clear with these three terminologies. The very examination, Vostro, Nostro, very important. Vostro matlab uska account, Bank of America is maintaining with me. Your account with us. Nostro account reverse, our account with you. If you remember these two, examination, you are going to get 1 mark. Exchange rate mechanism. There are two methods in exchange rate mechanism. One is direct method, another is indirect method. A given number, you don't read the definition also. Simply, I will tell you. US $1. We India, we fall direct method only. One always we tell na $1 is equal to 70 rupees. Yaar, dollar is increasing 60 ho gaya, 70 ho gaya, 80 ho gaya. So this is called direct method. $1 is equal to, if you are comparing in Indian rupees, it is called as direct method. And the principle of direct method is always buy low, sell high. Any businessman will do the same thing, buy low, sell high. Like this, in direct method, the Forex, the principle is buy low, sell high. In indirect method, it is reverse. Buy high, sell low. Okay, that concept is clear. Now, indirect method. What is indirect method, sir? Then Indian rupees are 100. How many dollars you can convert? That is called indirect. You can see the example I have written here. 100 rupees means how many dollars I can purchase. You will convert. If dollar is, for example, 50 rupees, I can take $2. 100 is equal to $2. Like that, if you are comparing, this is called as indirect method. only for knowledge purpose, we should know indirect method. Always in India, we follow direct method only. Since when? From 93, we are following direct method only. We do not remember the date. In India, which method if we follow is asked, it's a direct method only we follow. Now you understand what is the direct method, because as a practice also you always speak on dollar is this much, dollar is that much, that is direct method only. Method of delivery of forex. In the names you have to remember, if somebody says if it is a ready means same day, transaction will be settled on same day. If somebody says Tom means T+1, transaction plus 1 day settlement will be done. If somebody says spot T+2, transaction after 2 days after the date of contract, the settlement will be done. If it is a forward contract, about T+2, that's all. For examination purpose, you remember these dates. Ready means T, Tom means T+1, spot means T+2, forward T+2, any number of days we call it as forward contract. These are the method of delivery with regard to forex. Okay. Now, very important slide, LC mechanism. I want to make you comfortable with LC mechanism. What is this LC mechanism? I want to teach you. Okay. First, why this LC came into picture, we will understand first. See, there is a buyer in India. He wants some goods from China. He's a China, he's a Chinese, he's a China, he's a seller, or we can call him as exporter. He is in our country, buyer. He wants to buy something. He wants to buy some equipment from China. So what he will say? He will tell to the seller, sir, I need some equipment, computer equipment from China. Please export to me and I will make the payment to you. But this person will not believe this man. Once the export has gone, if he is not paying the amount, he is in trouble. And this person, what he may say, sir, you do one thing, sir. You want this equipment, nah? It is a $5 lakh. You send it to me, $5 lakh. I will send the export to you, no problem. Then this person will not believe, because if he pays $5 lakh to him, what is the guarantee that he will get the export? So both of them, they don't believe each other. They cannot trust each other, because they, after 4 or 5 contracts or 10 contracts, maybe they may believe, but initial stages, they never believe each other. And it is a cross border. Who will go to China? If he export, he has not executed, who will go to China? Who will go to court of China? All these things cannot happen. So both of them will have their own perceptions and they can't do business. Okay. If in between, if a bank comes and the bank says, don't worry, exporter, I will guarantee you, on behalf of importer, some bank will come and tell the exporter, you don't worry, you send the export and send the documents to me, I will make the payment. Then this person will get confidence, because bank is involved here. So that is the reason a document called letter of credit came into picture. Now we will try to understand what is this letter of credit and how it functions. See, this importer, when the contract was arrived, both of them first they will arrive for one contract. What machinery he wants from this fellow and how much amount he has to be paid. Exporter will say, I need $5 lakh. If he's convinced, they will have a contract between them. Okay, contract is over. Now, after the contract is over, this importer will go to his banker. This banker will be called as importer banker, a very easy word, because importer banker only is, or opening banker, because he has to open the LC in favor of exporter or seller, whoever it may be. So that is the reason this banker is called as importer banker, opening banker, LC opening banker, issuing banker, issuer of LC. So 3 names are available for this fellow: importing banker, opening banker, and issuing banker. Okay. Now he has opened an LC. Based on the terms and conditions, these both of them might have arrived some terms and condition. Based on the terms and condition, he will open a LC and he will send it to exporter. But he cannot directly send to exporter. Na? One bank is required in, for example, is in China. He needs this bank needs one bank in China to advise to exporter. So this bank, the issuing banker, will send this LC to one bank called advising bank. Name itself advising. What is the role of advising bank? Once the LC receives to advising bank, they will check the authenticity of the message. LC, how it will go, sir? through SWIFT, it will go to other country. Once they receive the message, advising bank will do authenticity. They will check the message whether it come from that bank or not, and they will check the message. Once the authenticity is over, advising bank will give the LC to beneficiary. That means exporter. Boss, आपका you got the LC. Now you can start the business because one bank in India has given guarantee, so you can start. Okay. Then advising bank has given LC to exporter. Now exporter thought that in India, one bank on behalf of importer guaranteed. Now I can start experiment. Okay. This is the mechanism. Now I will tell you one example here. For example, beneficiary, this bank, this opening banker name is 420 bank. The opening banker name is 420 bank, 420. This fellow doesn't have confidence on this name. In India, 420 matlab gadbad. So this China man is very intelligent person. He came to know 420 bank means I cannot rely. I cannot rely on this banker. This is importer's banker. I don't rely. Then this fellow will say to importer, I need a double confirmation. That means one more bank has to confirm me that if this export payment I will receive, then one more bank will come into picture like Canara Bank. Okay, he will say Canara Bank. Okay, no problem. I don't believe 420, but I believe Canara Bank. Now the question has come. Now Canara Bank will see. Canara Bank knows about 420 bank. If Canara Bank satisfies about the 420's performance and all, by taking precautions, if they believe that they will not have any problem at future, then Canara Bank will confirm the LC to exporter. Now exporter is comfortable. Okay, 420 I don't believe. Now Canara Bank has also given a confirmation. Conforming bank means it is stepping into the shoes of issuing banker and giving a confirmation to exporter. Don't worry, I will make the payment to you. Now based on this bank's belief, now exporter will start working on the export. Now he will start the export and he will manufacture the goods, and after manufacturing the goods he will ship the goods. Okay, he will ship the goods and goods will go to importer's country. Once he ship the goods, he will have a document called bill of lading. Shipment has been done. Now he has given the shipment has gone there. Now one bill of lading, one document he will get from after export. This document and whatever documents he has told with LC to be submitted. In the LC, he might have asked so many documents from exporter. Once you have exported, I need these are the documents with you. Then only bank will make the payment. Then exporter will take bill of lading, collect all the documents, whatever he told, and now he is ready to take the payment. Then the role of negotiating banker will start. Simply negotiating banker means he is a payment bank, you can say. So beneficiary will go to nominated bank or negotiating bank and he will submit all the documents as per LC. Then nominating bank will check each and every document as per the requirement of importer. If anything, if he has failed to check properly, he is responsible. If he has any discrepancy, he will tell to beneficiary, sir, there is a discrepancy. You have not submitted these documents. I cannot make the payment. If there are no discrepancies, nominating bank will make the payment to beneficiary. After that, nominating bank will send the documents to, if there is a confirming bank in between, they will send to confirming bank. If there is no confirming bank, no problem. Directly they will send to issuing bank. Sir, I made the payment to beneficiary. Please give me my amount. So he will send the documents to opening banker and opening banker will make the payment. Thereafter, he will take the payment from importer. This is how the LC mechanism works. I hope I am clear with this. Okay, he will now I will tell you what is the definition of LC. You will understand better. What is the definition of LC? LC is an unconditional undertaking given by the issuing bank, the importer's banker. He will give a unconditional undertaking. To whom he will give? To exporter. What he will give? On behalf of importer, in favor of the exporter he will give, because importer's customer is importer's banker's customer is importer. So an undertaking given by the issuing bank or importer's banker on behalf of his importer in favor of exporter. What they will give? Undertaking to make the payment. Whatever payment exporter is eligible, I will make the payment, but on presentation of documents as per the terms and conditions of LC. Banks always speak about documents only. You submit all the documents as per LC, I will make the payment. Okay, this is very important. And LCs are always governed by UCPDC. This is called as, this full form, especially 1 to 2 people, they should remember: Uniform Customs and Practices for Documentary Credit. This is called UCPDC. Okay, Uniform Customs and Practices for Documentary Credit. And which is, this is present version is UCPDC 600, prepared by International Chamber of Commerce, ICC Paris. They can ask any question from you. UCPDC full form they can ask. What is the new version? They may ask. It is 600. Who is preparing UCPDC? ICC Paris. Okay. Then what are the type of LCs we have? One is revocable LC. What is revocable LC? Once you have issued a LC, you can, if you want to, if you are canceling or amendment, if you want to do, if who can do that amendment and cancellation? Issuing bank, importer bank, without the notice of the parties, before the documents are negotiated by the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank, before making the payment, issuing banker changes everything. He will cancel, he can amend. If these things are done, it is called as revocable LC. But this is not the practice. Revocable LC is presently not possible because UCPDC says only irrevocable LC. Irrevocable LC means what, sir? If a firm undertaking on the part of issuing bank and cannot be cancelled or amended without consent of parties to LC, without consent of the important parties, you cannot cancel, you cannot amend. Okay, particularly beneficiary, because beneficiary is the person who will be in loss. So that is the reason, without his consent. Of course, not only that, issuing banker will be taken role, and negotiating banker and beneficiary. All these three people, if they, if importer says some problem, if all three are convinced, yes, they can amend after even issuing the LC. Otherwise, generally, LC cannot be taken back. That is the reason we call it as irrevocable. We cannot amend, we cannot cancel once LC is issued. Okay. Next, Article 10 of UCP 600 makes it very clear. UCPDC 600, there are 39 articles. Out of the 39 articles, article number 10 says a credit, a letter of credit can neither be amended nor cancelled without the agreement of the issuing bank, conforming bank, and the beneficiary. These three people, without their knowledge, no LC can be revoked. Not possible. It's irrevocable. What, which section it is? Article 10 of UCP 600. This is the problem. Okay. One, this is transferable LC. Transferable LC means at the request of the beneficiary, several secondary, one LC has received for the beneficiary, LC received by exporter. That exporter will transfer that LC to another beneficiary. This is called as transferable LC. Next, red clause LC. What is red clause LC? Red clause LC means LC will be issued by the importer's banker to exporter. Okay. In the LC, if it is written, pre-shipment credit can be financed to exporter. That is called as red clause LC. When they are writing pre-shipment can be given, they will bold it as red color. To negotiating bank, they are informing, the issuing banker is telling, yes, you can finance pre-shipment credit to the exporter. A LC which authorize the nominated bank to sanction pre-shipment credit to exporter for procurement of raw materials, processing, packing of goods to be exported, then it is called as red clause LC. Please remember, in the examination, red clause LC comes means you must know it should be given for pre-shipment credit. Red clause LC will allow exporter to take pre-shipment credit. That much you have to remember. Coming to green clause LC, it is also same. Along with pre-shipment, warehousing and insurance charges also, this bank will tell to make a payment by the nominated bank. That's all. Red clause LC only pre-shipment. Green clause LC pre-shipment credit plus warehouse. Why they give warehouse? For example, everything was exporter made it ready. When he goes to the port, at the port, he doesn't have a space in the ship. Then what he will do? Somewhere he has to keep in warehouse. That charges also can be paid by the bank. So warehouse charges, insurance charges, along with pre-shipment can be given under green clause LC. Next, what is back-to-back LC? See, same thing. Original beneficiary will get an LC. On the soundness strength of this original LC, one more LC will be opened in the other beneficiary. This is called back-to-back LC. Okay. Next, standby LC. Standby LC means it is a type of performance guarantee, but issued in the form of LC. Performance guarantee is the word you have to remember when the question of standby LC comes, and issued to cover situation of non-performance. Okay. Next, revolving LC. Revolving LC. It's just like OCC. Generally, LC means one LC will be opened, exporter will receive. Once the transaction is over, amount they will pay. That is a normal LC. But revolving LC means you can remember like this. It's a OCC type. Revolvingly, they will give one LC they have given. Okay, export has come. Okay, this liability is cleared. Okay, again one more amount has come. So automatically this part amount which has been utilized automatically restored and available for future use. Okay, this is called revolving LC. Now UCP-DC 600, how many articles are available? I already told you the present version is UCP 600 prepared by ICC Paris, and 39 articles are available. We cannot remember all 39 articles. Try to make very important articles. I have written 4, 5, 6 articles which you have. Article 10 I already told you. Irrevocable LC only. Only if LC is issued is irrevocable. Article 10 said I. Now Article 5 what it says. Bank deals with documents, not with goods, service or performance. Whether exporter has exported the goods, all these things bank don't want. Bank want as per LC, whether you have received the documents, okay, make the payment. So always remember this question they may ask. Bank deal with documents. They may ask in any type of question. An exporter has exported, but he has not, importer has not received the documents in with good condition, whether you make the payment or not. We will make the payment. Why not? Because we are not bothered about goods and services. We bother about only documents. As per LC, if exporter submits all the documents, bank will pay. That's all. Please remember this logic. So he may trickle anyway. This happened, that happened, importer got lost, all these things. We are not bothered. We see the documents, will make the payment. Which article says UCP-DC? Article 5. UCP-DC is the Bible for LCs. If LCs, any transactions are happening, it is in the rules of UCP-DC only. All the countries will follow. Okay. India is also a member of UCP-DC. Article 14, what it says? See, once the beneficiary gives in the LC mechanism, we have seen one exporter exported, what he will do? He will take bill of documents and all the documents as per LC, and he will go to negotiating banker or nominating banker. And what nominating bank will see? He will check all the documents I told. How many days they want? 10 days, 20 days? UCP-DC says every bank for examination of the documents, they will get only 5 banking days. If within 5 banking days, if you are not raising any objection, over, your game is over. Now you have to take the documents, you have to make the payment. This is what UCP-DC says. So number of days available for examination of the documents is 5 banking days for each bank. Maybe whoever, confirming banker, negotiating banker or issuing, all these bank will have, each bank will have only 5 banking days. See, for example, if you are sitting in export, you have gone on leave by keeping your documents inside the drawer. Nobody knows, gone. 5 banking days over means exporter will have that benefit. He will say, now it is 7 days or over, you make the payment. I don't want to listen anything, because UCPD is saying, UCPD is protecting the exporter. Please remember this important point. 5 banking days. In the exam, again, I am telling you, they will give choice also like this. 5 banking days, 5 working days, 5 days, to make you confused. Banking days, you remember. Okay. All 5 only you will get choice. Only banking you have to remember. Next, a presentation. I told you, when the exporter shipped the documents to India, the China exporter shipped the documents to India, within how many days he has to submit that bill of lading and documents to that negotiating banker? How many days? 21 calendar days. A presentation must be made by or on behalf of the beneficiary not later than 21 calendar days after the date of shipment. Once you have done the shipment, within 21 days, you have to submit the documents, but ensure that the LC should not be expired. That also you have to see. Next, Article 28, what it says. If there is no indication in the credit of insurance, in the LC, there is nothing written about the insurance, then how to cover, sir? They have written LC, UCPDC says as per Article 28. If nothing is written about insurance, insurance will be covered 110% of CIF value of goods. Cost insurance freight, whatever amount he is going to incur on that, 110% insurance will be covered. It is a, as per UCP, it is a Bible rule. So every importer exporter will follow that. If it is nothing written, if it is written, okay, both are having a condition for that. Unless otherwise stipulated, and the insurance policy also will be taken in the currency of LC. See, LC, which currency it is issued, you have to see. If it is issued in US dollars, the insurance policy also will be taken in the US dollars only. That's what they are telling. Okay. Next, this is one more important point. They're called in the LC, UCPDC says, if they use words beginning, middle, and end, always it is a month. It is a month. There are three parts here: beginning, middle, end. Then how to divide this? If 1st to 10th, it is a beginning, 11th to 28th is a middle, and 21st to last day of the month is called end. And all dates are inclusive. 1 and 10 both are included. If they ask as per UCPDC, what is meant by middle, then you have to understand the term middle means. Middle means 11th, 30th. Beginning, middle, end is a one option. And another way they tell first half and second half. Here you forget a movie. If a movie, if you go, how it goes? First half, second half. First half, second half. In 1 month only. All these bifurcations we are doing for 1 month. First half, second half. If you cut exactly 130 months, 15 days is first half, and 15 to 16 through 30th day is second half. So first half or second half, yes, remember that it's a movie, only two are there. 1 month, if you divide into two parts, it will be 1 to 15 and 16 to 30 only. You will not forget. And beginning, middle, end means 10, 10 to 20, and 21st to 30. These are the two terminologies you have to remember. Tolerance. Article 30 says tolerance. Tolerance means, see, as an export, you might have received some goods to India. Okay. They might have sent 100 quintal to you. 100 quintal. But while coming to India, there may be wear and tear. While sea it has come, wear and tear will be there. So they says, as per UCPDC, if words are used about or approximately in the LC, about or approximately, what does it mean? It means amount or quantity or unit price stated in the LC. They might have stored amount is 1 lakh, quantity is 100, unit price is 10 rupees. Those amount, maybe quantity, maybe price, can go plus 10%, minus 10% as per UCPDC. Okay. About and approximately, the use means amount may increase 10, decrease 10. Quantity may increase 10, decrease 10. Unit price also can increase plus 10% or minus 10%. Then also bill will be settled. No issue. And a tolerance level of plus or minus 5% is also allowed where LC does not state quantity. If quantity is not stated as per FEMA guidelines, it can be plus 5% or minus 5%. Okay. With the stipulated number of packing units or individual items, whatever it may be. 5% tolerance is connected to quantity. Okay. Next, coming to Article 36, which is the last section. Force majeure. What is force majeure? I will tell you with example first before reading those lines. See, one document has to be submitted to bank. Today is the last, tomorrow is the last date. I am in Kolkata. I have to go to Delhi to submit those documents to Canara Bank Delhi. But tomorrow morning I have a flight at 6 o'clock. By the time in the night, flood started in Kolkata, and I could not able to go in the morning to airport. What happens? I cannot reach because tomorrow is the last day. So automatically I will call the banker and say, sir, there are a lot of floods in Kolkata. No, I cannot move, sir. Tomorrow, if flights are restored, by day after tomorrow morning, I will come and I will submit the documents to you. You can make the payment. Then bank will say, please remember, as per UCPDC Article 36, there is a condition called force majeure. Sir, what is that? If anything happens because of the acts of God, भगवान कर दिया जो भी कर दिया, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया. क्या किया? He created floods, he created riots, civil commotions, insurrections, war, act of terrorism, strike, lockout. Bengal lockout हो गया, मैं नहीं आ रहा हूं. I don't want to listen anything, sir. If you are submitting to the tomorrow documents today, I am going to accept. If you are coming tomorrow, I will use the clause called force majeure. I will not accept the documents from you. This is called force majeure. Please remember, Article 36 is talking of force majeure. So that means that customer might have planned accordingly 2-3 days before, so that this problem might have not arisen. Okay. If anything happens, an eventuality also, bank doesn't have any liability. Okay. This is with regard to force majeure. And Incoterms, we call it as international commercial terms. See, whenever exporter and buyer is having some understanding, as per ICC, some words they use in the LC, that is called, for example, Ex Works, FCA. I will tell you. If he uses a word, buyer tells the exporter it is Ex Works. If he is using Ex Works means he is telling the seller, whatever you have manufactured, you keep it at your premises. You keep in your premises. I will come to China. I will collect everything from there. You forget about that. You prepare, manufacture, and keep it there. If buyer wants to sell seller, you don't expend anything. Keep the premise, keep in your premises only. I will come and collect. Then he use a word called Incoterms, EXW, Ex Works. Ex Works means at seller premises you leave it, I will collect it. Next one, when he use free carrier he uses to the custody of first carrier by seller. That means from seller premises he will deliver to the first carrier, whoever it may be. Up to that you take care, sir. Remaining I will take care, buyer says. Then it is called as free carrier. Next, he will use carriage paid to. You have to remember CPT, all these technical words. Carriage paid to. Carriage paid to means, sir, he will tell the exporter, you pay carriage paid to destination point. Then seller will pay payment of carriage up to destination point. From there, buyer will take care. Okay. Next, sir, you pay carriage and insurance also. Remaining, I will take care if buyer says. Then seller pays carriage and insurance. Remaining, buyer will pay. After that, whatever happens, buyer will take care. Delivered at place. That means, sir, you deliver at that particular place. I will collect from that place. If he wants to say buyer, he will say deliver at place. Deliver at terminal. Sir, that airport terminal or shipping terminal, you leave it there. I will collect from there. Then he use delivered at a terminal. If importer wants to say exporter, delivery duty paid, then seller will pay transportation, insurance, duty. After that, buyer will take the chance. Buyer will expend everything. Okay. Next, free alongside. Free alongside ship means seller place the good alongside of the ship. That's all. That means he will not board into the ship. He will keep beside the ship, other side of the ship. He will not keep inside the ship. He will not board into the ship. He will keep outside the ship. That is called alongside the ship. Buyer is telling to exporter, you just keep beside the ship. My people will come. They will board it to ship and they will bring it to us. You don't worry. You keep up to that. For that, you tell me what is the amount. That is called free alongside. Next one is free on board. Free on board. Next step. Already alongside is over. If buyer wants to say, no, you board it to the ship, from there I will take care. Then he uses a word free on board. Then seller loads the goods on board of the ship. He will ship ka upar bhej dega. But wahan se buyer is responsible. If buyer wants to take those risks, he will tell the exporter, up to here you do, up to here you do, up to here you do. The remaining I will take care. Next, cost and freight. So here buyer is telling to seller, you board it, you pay the cost, you pay the freight also, remaining I will take care. Otherwise, he will say cost, insurance and freight. This is called CIF. We have discussed it just now. If insurance, if he is not writing in the LC, we will go for 110% of CIF. That is means now CIF means cost, insurance, freight, everything will be paid by seller. Buyer will not pay anything. After doc receives, then he will make the full payment. Okay. This is regard to international commercial terms. How many international commercial terms are there? 11 international commercial terms are there. They may not ask you for 1 to 2. They never ask very easy questions only. But if at all you have to learn from Forex side, you should learn these Incoterms. How buyer wants to restrict the seller to bring the goods to which place, he will use these words. Okay. Inward remittance. Whenever inward remittance, there are, if anybody is coming from abroad, he wants to bring foreign currency, some $1,000, $1 crore, whether India will stop him, sir? They never stop because they want Forex. So there is no restrictions for a resident individual for receiving inward remittances from abroad through AD banks. No restrictions. How much money you want, you collect from there. Okay, of course, AML and all we will do. There is a different case. If it is anti-money laundering, there is a problem. Otherwise, any government never say that we don't want Forex. Let Forex come. No problem. No restriction. Any much of dollar you can take. That is the important. No restriction. Next, currency declaration form. See, when you are coming from abroad to India, you can bring some foreign currency or foreign currency check or traveler checks, whatever it may be. If it is currency does not exceed US dollars 5,000, no problem. Or currency and traveler checks, both addition, if it is does not exceed 10,000, then you can bring it, no problem. If more than that, you have to submit CDF. CDF means currency declaration form. You have to submit. I brought 11,000 means you have to submit currency declaration form. You have to tell them for what purpose, from where your declaration you have to give to custom authorities. Then only you will be allowed to take that cash or traveler checks outside. Okay, that is important. Delayed payment. If authorized dealer shall pay in 2 working days. See, you have opened a Nostro account in Bank of America. See, some collection check you have sent. It was credited in your Nostro account. Immediately in India, you have to give credit to this party. Okay. So authorized dealer shall pay within 2 working days from the date of receipt of credit as well or Nostro statement. Nostro statement. That means if it is credited to Nostro account, and if you come to know within 2 working days, you have to give the credit to the borrower's the party account. If you are not giving, you have to pay 2% above SB interest rate to beneficiary. Okay, this is the penalty you have to pay if you are not crediting to the account within 2 working days. Once your Nostro is created, you have to credit his account within 2 days. If you are not crediting, pay 2% above SB interest. Next, very important topic. This is liberalized remittance scheme, LRS. This question may come definite. What is the maximum amount allowed under LRS? $250,000 in Forex. $250,000 is very, very important answer. Please don't forget this answer, 250,000. What is LRS? Now we are going to discuss. Any individual in our country, including minor, whoever it may be, everybody is allowed to take $250,000 from any bank. Okay. Beyond that, it requires RBI approval. Simply, they will not give you $250,000. You have to tell them for which purpose you want this $250,000. What purposes? Any authorized dealers, banks, we also give for $250,000. First one, private visit. If you are visiting private visit, that means you want to go to some other country. You want to go to Malaysia. You want to. So other than Nepal and Bhutan, if you go to any country in the world, you will be given $250,000. If you want to gift, if you want to give donation to anybody, $250,000. Any purpose, $250,000. Going abroad for employment, yes, you will be given $250,000. Immigration purpose, you will be given $250,000. Maintenance of clothes, that your son is studying in America, your son is studying in London. If you want to make the payment to them, if you want for survival purpose, yes, you can give $250,000. You can send $250,000 to your son, or even relatives also you can send. If you want to go for a business trip to China, you can take $250,000. If you want to, if you are going to America for a treatment for a cancer or something, some problem you have come, you want to go to there, yes, you will be given $250,000. Students going for pursuing studies, they will be given $250,000. Any other current account transaction also, they will give $250,000 to any individual in India, including minor. The important thing you have to remember is $250,000. Remaining things, just you watch it. Any purpose, if you are going abroad, even if you want to enjoy also, you can pay like $250. Private visit is there. You can go to Thailand, you can go to Malaysia, anywhere, enjoy Singapore, $250, you can take it. Okay. This is the important point you have to remember. Sir, in all cases, only $250,000. If that is the case, I will ask a question. For example, recently we have seen Sonali Bendre has gone to New York for cancer treatment, right? Whether 250,000 is enough for her treatment? No, 100% no. He requires not less than, for example, say I'm telling, he needs not more than some 250,000, $10 lakh he wants for treatment. Just imagine 10 lakh dollars. She can take, no problem. How she can take? Because there are exceptions permitted. Only 3 exceptions are permitted, where authorized dealer can also permit more than any purpose above 250 with RBI permission, you can take, no problem. But authorized dealer himself can permit in 3 exceptional categories. What are they? One is immigration, another is medical treatment, another is studies. In these 2 cases, even though if you want more than $250,000 in a financial year, you can take from India. Only problem is you have to submit an estimation. That means Sonali Bendre go to New York hospital. She will ask, how much expenditure I have to make for my medical treatment. They will tell, madam, you have to submit $10 lakh to us. Maybe you should stay for 1 month or 2 months. This is the expenditure. Sir, give me an estimation for that. The hospital authorities will give a estimation. This much amount she may expend for her hospital treatment. Then she can take $10 lakh from India. So medical, we don't know how much amount. That's why RBI told, okay, for medical, you can go ahead. With a estimation, you go ahead. Student going for education, go ahead, no problem. Immigration, no problem, you can. So only these 3 are exceptions. Please remember, any amount they can take. Only thing is they have to give the estimation for them. Now this is the answer. For immigration, medical treatment, studies abroad, forex may be availed in excess of LRS limit, but requires a supporting document. Next, availability of LRS limit. If you want to verify how much LRS amount you are eligible, if you want to check, you can check through RBI XBRL package. There it will be written, whoever is taking money, I think there the package they are uploading. And PAN number is mandatory. Okay. If you want to take LRS, mandatory to have a PAN number to make any remittances abroad. If you are going to Nepal and Bhutan, forex for any kind of travel, for any transaction with it cannot be released. Forex cannot be released if you are going to Nepal and Bhutan. Okay. Number 2, if they are going to Nepal and Bhutan, they will be that also new series notes only we will give you. Okay, this is with regard to Nepal and Bhutan. All residents NRI except citizen of Pakistan and Bangladesh, always they restrict these 2 countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh. All residents are NRI except citizen of Pakistan, Bangladesh can take Indian currency notes up to 25,000 denomination while leaving the country. If you are going to America, USA, China, anywhere you are going, you can take Indian currency 25,000 along with you. That's all. Because once you come back to India, you need some expenditure from airport and all. So that's why government is permitting 25,000 rupee Indian rupees. You go to anywhere in the world, you will but accept Pakistan and Bangladesh. Now, important point. Okay, you will be given $250,000 as per LRS scheme. Please remember this 250. Okay, if you are going abroad, resident, sir, $250,000, it cannot be given you in cash. 250,000 always banks will give in the form of demand drafts, In the traveler checks form only, they will give it to you. Then what is the position? You go to America, you get down the air, you got down at airport. Now you need a coolie. You have to make in dollars payment. You have go to car. You need a car for going to hotel. You need some amount. After going to hotel, to staying in the hotel, you have to pay dollars. This is a minimum requirement you require. And if you give 2,50,000 traveler checks and demand drafts, you will go to some bank in America, you have opened account, you have to convert, or you go to some currency changer, it will be converted to Indian rupee, dollars, then only you can expend. Though, but once you reach USA, you need minimum currency to manage yourself for 1 or 2 days. By the time you can convert these traveler checks and drafts into cash. Cash means US dollars. US dollars you can convert. So RBI also convinced, yes, customers are telling very right. Okay, now they have permitted banks. If anybody is going abroad, $3,000 will be allowed to take dollars in cash in the respective currency. If you are going to America, 3,000 US dollars to you, and remaining $2,47,000 they will not give you in cash. That means US dollars. They will give you in traveler checks and bank demand drafts. Once you go there with these 3,000, you manage 2-3 days, and by the time you convert these traveler checks and bank drafts into US dollars, and you can enjoy your trip at USA. Okay, this is what. So that means this is the understanding concept purpose I told you. You are going any country in the in our world, $3,000 USA everything. But there are two exceptions you have to remember. Any country 3,000 only. USA also 3,000, no doubt. If you are going to Iraq, if you are going to Libya, you can take USD 5,000 or its equivalent. Or if you are going to Iran, if you are going to Russia, if you are going to CIC countries, Commonwealth of Independent Countries, no ceiling. Entire 2,50,000 you can take in cash. Only 3 countries permitted. One is Iran, another is Russia, another is Commonwealth of Independent Countries. I hope I am clear. 3,000 to any country. Iraq, Libya, it is 5,000 rupees, and Iran, Russia, CIC countries are no ceiling. Now the next question, going abroad. If you are going abroad, if you want to go to Thailand, how many days before you can take this foreign currency from bank? Okay, you want to go to, but you need currency from the bank. Now, like if you are going on LFC, you need advance. How many days before you can take leave encashment? Only 7 days before. Bank restricts you. Like that, if you are going abroad, how many days before you can collect cash from the bank? The $250,000, 180 days prior to the date of departure. Your departure date, say 180 days before only you can collect forex. Okay, this is with regard to 2 lakh. Now it is over. Now coming to unspent foreign currency. You have gone to USA, $250,000 you have taken, you enjoyed in USA. Now $2 lakh are invested, everything is over. Now you came back to India, balance 50,000 bacha hai. 50,000 with you, you came back to India. This is called unspent foreign currency. Sir, that $50,000 can I keep in my house, sir? Any problem is there? Reserve Bank told anything about that? Yes. Reserve Bank told within 180 days, you have to give back the dollars, whatever you unspent currency you brought, give it to your banker. But only one exception is $2,000 you can keep it with you. Out of 50,000, you can keep 2,000 with you, but remaining $48,000 you have to submit your bank within same 180 days. Okay, from your return, it is 180 days, you have to return the $48,000. And one more exception is that if you brought any coins from America, example only I'm taking America, any country you go, you bring some coins, irrespective, any number of coins you can hold, no problem. For example, 50,000 you brought, in the 10,000 coins are there. 10,000 coins you can keep, nobody is question you. $2,000 again you can keep, but remaining 38,000 you have to deposit in the bank within 180 days from your return. This is with regard to surrender of unsecured forex. Borrowings. See, you need any amount. Your friend is in America. Always we talk America only. That's why my words always says USA. Your friend is in USA. You want some amount from him urgently. How much amount you can borrow from him? Same LRS. $250,000 you can borrow from your friend, but only 2-3 conditions are there. He has to give minimum maturity period of 1 year. He should not ask you within 1 year. That is the one option. Second option is he has to give you free of cost. no interest you should charge. And third one is the amount what your friend is sending you or your relative is sending you, it should come through normal banking channel. These are the three conditions. If you follow, yes, you can borrow $250,000 from anybody and anyone in your country, other country. Okay. Next, if you are sending by export by way of gift, goods you are sending by way of gift to somebody, how much amount you can give? 5 lakhs per annum. This is the only one item I see in Indian rupees. 5 lakhs per annum. If you want to send some gift to somebody by way of export of good, yes, you can send 5 lakhs per annum. Next, Indo-Nepal remittance scheme. What is this scheme? I will tell you plus what is plus presently what is the scheme it is. See, Nepalis comes to India, they work in India, correct? Once they work, they will get some payment as a labor payment or contract, whatever it may be, based on the qualification, they get some income. But these Nepalis can send money to their Nepalis, their family in Nepal. So there is a remittance facility for Nepal, Indo-Nepal remittance, Indo-Nepal remittance. For that purpose, they told maximum 50,000 per remittance. Every month, they can send 15,000 to his family 12 times in a year. Per month, one means automatically 12 times for a year. And SBI is taking care of this particular Indo-Nepal remittance. So charges will be originating branch, who is originating, will take 5 rupees and SBI will take 20 rupees. Total 25 rupees are the charges for banks. But customer, what is the charge they will do? Up to 5,000, they charge 50 rupees. Above 5,000, it is rupees 75 rupees. But it is an old scheme. I don't expect any question from here, but I don't know. Is the Indo-Nepal remittance scheme is a general subject or all the banks? They may ask you. That is the reason I have given you. Next, IEC code, import export code, very, very important examination point of view. Import export code, who will give? DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade, will issue this IEC. For what is the purpose of these IEC codes are? Like SSA, that Udyog Aadhar memorandum is there, na? Udyam registration, like that. Without IEC code, nobody in India can do any import or any export. This is the license to do import export. So this is the document. Anybody wants to go to import export, they should take this license from DGFT. That is the reason IEC is a very, very important document for import export. Coming to Lloyd certificate. What is a Lloyd certificate? If importer wants, importer is in India, exporter is in China in our case. Now he is sending his goods by one ship. Now importer wants to know what type of ship that exporter is using. Then he will tell, sir, I need a Lloyd certificate. In the LC terms, they will say, I need a Lloyd certificate. What Lloyd certificate is? Lloyd certificate is, it's a firm. It's a firm. Lloyd is a firm name. They will certify the seaworthiness and age of the vessel. That vessel, whatever the ship is coming, it is 100 years old. That means it may sink in between the sea. So that is the reason importer says, sir, I need a Lloyd certificate for your seaworthiness. I want to check. I want to know the age of the vessel, in which vessel you are sending me to India. So this certificate will be issued by Lloyds. That is what Lloyd certificate. They will ask Lloyd certificate ka purpose, seaworthiness and age of the vessel. Okay. Next, R return. R return is a whatever currencies you get, so many currencies now, like so many people will come, they will exchange currencies in the bank. Whatever transactions in variant currencies consolidatedly in a every fortnight, we have to send to Reserve Bank of India. How much current US dollars, how much we got, euros, how much we got, these things we will consolidate, we will send to R return. The currencies consolidated in a return is called R return. What is the periodicity? It is fortnight. Okay, coming to deemed exports. What is deemed exports? Deemed export to refer to those transactions which the goods supply do not leave the country. It will not understand by this. I will tell you with example. 100% export oriented unit is there. They got a export order from USA for some 100 units of chappals. Just imagine chappals, they got an order. 100 like 1 lakh chappals, they got an order. These 100% EOU in turn will give to somebody to manufacture and give it to them. The person who manufactured is he didn't get the export order, but he manufactured those items and given to the exporter, and exporter has sent to the export. This 100% EOU has sent to the export, but that person has done, he has given the contribution to the export. That's why he will be called as deemed export. But in his balance sheet, he cannot show it is an export because he has given to 100% EOU. That is the reason he will be called as 100 deemed export. Okay. Next, time limit for export receivables. I told you, you have, for example, now always we talk on exporter from China only. Now India, you have executed an export. Okay. From India, one export has gone to USA. Within how many days proceeds has to come to India? That is important. Na? See, India he has manufactured. Now he has sent 1 crore. 1 crore he has sent there to America. Okay. Now he has to receive the proceeds for that export. How many days we will wait? RBI or bank or customer exporter, how many days they will wait? So they are very clear-cut guidelines. Any export goes out of India, it should come within 9 months from the date of export. Any export 9 months. You need not remember any. Export receivables. Export chala gaya. Receivables should comes within 9 months. 9 months is a very key answer for export receivables. And if it is a packing credit, if you are financing, or if you are giving packing credit in foreign currency, with the maximum 270 days you can permit. Post shipment, FDB, FBE, BRD, we say is a pre-shipment means up to shipment, whatever amount you are incurring, that is called PC, packing credit or pre-shipment, one and the same. For that, maximum 270 days we can permit. That is also 9 months, 9 into 30, 270. And post shipment also same, maximum 270 days. No issues here also, 9 months, 9 months. Everything is 9 months only. Okay, no, remember. Now, if at all these export proceeds are case to case, not received or case to case, authorized dealer or RBI can extend up to 12 months. If packing credit is not liquidated within maximum 20 days, RBI is having powers, but not on general cases. In very exceptional cases, if there is a valid reason for that, RBI is having power through AD. We have to request RBI. AD means banks. Permit, and RBI can extend up to 12 months. For imports, sir, okay, export is going means 9 months. What about import? China mal aa gaya. China, we got the stock. How many days we have to make the payment to China? 6 months. Okay. Time limit for import payments is 6 months from the date of shipment. Now coming to what is a pre-shipment credit? I told you any loan, advance, any credit granted to an exporter for financing for the purchase, processing, manufacturing, packing of goods prior to shipment. Exporter, he will first export order he got. What he will do? He will procure raw material, process, and then he will do packing. For all these things, what much amount he requires, that is called up to shipment. Up to shipment, whatever expenditure he makes, we will finance under the name called pre-shipment credit or packing credit. Submission of document. Once the exporter sends the exporter has shipped the documents, from date of shipment, he has to give within 21 days, he has to submit the documents to his banker. Okay. Okay. Post shipment finance means after pre-shipment, we will give post shipment finance. Who is a gold loan exporter? Gold loan exporter. The person who is having a good track record and the account is in standard and is maintaining 3 years, then he will be called as gold card exporter. And gold card exporter, in few cases we cannot give. Whom we cannot give? If it is a blacklisted by ECGC, if he is in RBI defaulter list, making losses for the last 3 years, having overdue export bills in excess of 10% of previous year turnover. In these cases, we cannot give gold card. Gold card means we are telling that he's a very good customer, but he should be a 3 years very good party. Then only we can give this gold card. What is the benefit of gold card? Sorry, already LCs you are giving. What is a gold card? Gold card means credit limit, need-based finance with a liberal approach. Very comfortably, these people will be financed because they are good customers. And in principle, sanctions will be made for them for 3 years with the provision of automatic renewal. Some benefits they are getting. Not only that, they will get a standby limit of 20% of assessed limit. For example, he has a 1 crore limit. At the time of sanction itself, for gold card customers, they will give ADAC, na 20% ADAC. For these gold card exporters, at the time of sanction itself, they will give a ADAC type 20% standby limit. They will keep ready. If any emergent situation comes, gold card exporter want to execute export order immediately, they will use that 20%. Otherwise, they never use. Okay, so this is a backup already given to them because they are good customers. These are the benefits to gold loan customers. Diamond dollar account. Generally, the name itself is diamond dollar. The persons who are doing business with regard to rough diamonds, precious metal, jewelry, but minimum track at least 2 years they should have, and they are importing, exporting of diamonds. Any diamond businessman, we will open this diamond dollar account, but only thing is his average annual turnover should be 3 crores and above during preceding 3 licensing year. Last 3 years his turnover should be more than 3 crores. Then only we can open this diamond dollar account. How many accounts we can open? This question may come. 5 diamond dollar accounts we can open. At least 2 years track record he should have. 3 crores turnover he should have for the last 3 years. He has to do diamond merchant business. That like that, if you remember, diamond dollar account concept is over. EDPMS and IDPMS. Exporter also will be there in India and importer also will be there. You should know what is the full form of EDPMS. Export Data Processing and Monitoring System. Whatever exports India is doing in the customs office, this entire in the system, the process will be there, entire data will be available. So they customs and bank, all these things, this realization part they will see. So EDPMS is effective monitoring tool, okay, for following up of export transaction. Reverse, IDPMS is take care of import data processing. Imports, if anything happens, whether the export means whether amount has come or not, realized or not, these things will be. Import means whether we made the payment or not, these things will be monitored. So this is integrated with bank, and EDPMS and IDPMS is only for import and EDPM is for export. ECGC. What is this ECGC? See, like you have a DICGC, you have a CGFMU, you have a CGTMSC for MSME accounts. For exporters also some guarantees required. So Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, what they do is they give guarantee to exporters. What type of guarantee they give? Their payment risk, they are sending to China, amount may not come, payment is at risk, that risk will be covered at pre-shipment stage or post-shipment stage. At the same time, they cover insurance. Bank has given loan, pre-shipment, post-shipment, even that account also covered under insurance. If anything happens, this loan will be protected by ECGC, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation. The countries, I think I'm just within 5-10 minutes, I'll close my session. The countries have been classified by ECGs into 3 categories. All these countries will be classified into 3 categories. One is open cover, another is restricted cover group 1, another is restricted cover group 2. Open cover means ECGC says it is open cover, you can freely permit, no problem. Okay. If it is a restricted group cover 1 means you can permit, but with the permission of ECGC. Normally every year you have to take permission from them. That is restricted cover group 1. Restricted cover group 2 means every time you have to take permission from ECGC. Every export you have to take permission. Then it is a group 2. Okay. Group 1, they ask how much period you have to take. It is 1 year. Every 1 year you have to take a renewal. Supplier credit, buyer's credit. What is trade credits? We call it as supplier credit means exporter, supplier, who is the beneficiary. Supplier gives credit to buyer, that's all. Credit extended by the supplier to the importer in India for selling their goods. Exporter send from China, same transaction. He has given the goods to India, and again he will give credit to the buyer. Okay, you sell in India and you make the payment. That is called supplier's credit. Now coming to buyer's credit. What is buyer's credit? Buyer's credit is a short-term credit available to importer. Always buyer only, importer only will get all these things. Buyer's credit is a short-term credit available to importer from overseas lender such as banks for goods they are importing. Buyer, if they want to take any finance from the overseas lenders for importing these goods, they can take. That is called buyer's credit. Okay. If it is a non-capital goods, trade credit, the maximum permissible is for non-capital goods, it is 1 year. For capital goods, it is 3 years from shipment. Almost it is over. Now, important circulars came this year with regard to Forex I am discussing. Every year, bank will take ECGC cover for entire whole turnover. This is called WPT, W2PC, whole turnover packing credit and whole turnover post-shipment credit. Packing credit, bank has taken renewal from 1st July 20 to 30th June. Post shipment also they have taken. Maximum liability we have covered 2,350 a year and 1,550 a year. Okay, you need not remember mostly these items. You remember the date from 1st July to June 21. Liabilities, if possible, you remember for pre-shipment 2,350, post-shipment 1,550. And the most important point, examination point of view is this: who will pay the premium and what much of premium you have to pay to take this guarantee. If it is a packing credit, we have to pay 6 paise per 100. If it is a post-shipment, 550 paise per 100. And for your information, pre-shipment credit, these premium will be borne by the exporter. Okay, but post shipment, this amount will be borne by the banker. Okay, this is the two important things you have to remember: 6 paisa per 100 for packing credit, 5 rupee 50 paisa for post shipment. This is the minimum thing you have to learn. ECIB, whenever this ECG has given a guarantee to you, okay, now some 10 crores you have claimed from them, sir, that the shipping has not come. No, you give the guarantee, you have given the guarantee, na, pay the amount. Then ECIB, that export credit insurance for bank, they will come, they will verify the bank records. Earlier, the guideline says 1 crore and above, if you are claiming, they will come, they will verify all your documents, whether it is proper or not. Because of COVID, now they told we have increased the amount to 10 crores. They may ask a question: verification of bank reports for ECIB. When you are claiming the verification of documents, now up to increase it to which amount? It is 10 crores. Direct 1 crore to 10 crores they have done. Now 10 crore and above, if you are claiming only, they will come for verification. Now 1 crore has gone. Okay. Next, NRO accounts debiting INR checks. In a non-resident ordinary account, I told you local amount they will deposit there. If it is 1,000 and 1,000 and above, if you are debiting NRO account, you have to write the reason for fund transfer. Why you are transferring, you have to write the reason. This simple question they may ask, because very recent circular it is. In NRO account, if 1,000 and above, if you are debiting through any option in CBS, you have to write reason for fund transfer. I think this is the last slide. Trade credit. I told you buyer's credit and seller's credit will be called as trade credit. If it is a trade credit, if buyer credit is availed from our bank, the premium is 0.50%. If buyer credit availed from other bank, it is 1% per annum. This is the important thing you have to remember. Number two, issue of guarantees, standby letter of credits, letter of comfort, letter of undertakings. Now Indian banks cannot give, okay, without permission of approval of RBI. After Nirav Modi case, this letter of comfort is removed. You people know pretty well. It can be given, but only with the permission of RBI. The last point which I want to tell you today is trade credit can be raised. See, corporates can raise trade credit from trade credit, no problem, in any currency, whatever they want. But how much amount and what is the purpose? Okay, if you want import transaction, US dollars 150 million per import transaction for oil, gas refining, marketing, airline and shipping companies. This is the latest circular, so you should remember this year only the circular has issued. Maybe question may come, especially for 3 to 4, maybe 1 to 2 I don't expect. What is the amount for import transaction for oil, gas refinancing, marketing, airline and shipping companies? 150 million. All others, it is US dollars 50 million only. Thank you, friends. I hope I have taken 7 minutes extra. I should complete by 8:30. And thank you very much, because you have a 9 o'clock exam. Sir, you can stop the video. Sir, are you there, sir? Hello? Hello, sir? Anandan, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had kept in mute.
Okay, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You please share the PPT.
Yes,
People
sir. Yes, sir.
started asking.
I will share it to you, sir. I will share it to you.
People started asking.
Actually, sir, now itself I will share, sir. Better they can download now. because we can also finish. Otherwise,
Yeah, yeah.
night I will get 100 messages. I have to share 100 PPTs. That's very difficult for me. I think for downloading PPT, they have to stay back. Actually, starting itself, I might have given. I have done a mistake.
You have in your mobile?
Yeah, I'm having my mobile. 1 minute, I'm sending.